This is the Monsters Among Us podcast, Season 2, Episode 8, the Lonnie Zamora UFO Incident.
We are definitely doing a deep dive today. We're looking at a really significant case, I think, the Lonnie Zamora incident in Socorro, New Mexico, April 24th, 1964.
Right. A case that, well, it really sticks out, doesn't it? Especially if you're looking for potentially credible, verified encounters. We've got a police officer.
That's Zamora, yeah, on duty.
On duty. And he reports seeing not just, a weird light, but actual figures next to a shiny craft, and then this thing takes off with a huge roar, blue and orange flames.
They got all the elements that make people sit up and take notice. The witness credibility. I mean, a cop on the job.
Yeah.
Then there's physical evidence, actual marks left behind. And crucially, the official investigation couldn't explain it.
That's the kicker, isn't it? Project Blue Book ending up with unknown. So we're going to dig into what Zamora actually saw, what was found on the ground, and why this explanation remains so elusive.
Exactly. Let's set the scene. It starts pretty mundanely, actually.
Yeah, Zamora first radios his dispatcher, Nep Lopez, about a possible car accident down in an arroyo that's like a dry gully, for anyone unfamiliar.
That's the initial call.
Yeah.
But then, pretty quickly, it changes. He radios Lopez again, tells him to look out his window, see if he can spot something. Zamora describes it initially as maybe looking like a balloon.
And importantly, he asks for backup, right? He wants New Mexico State Police Sergeant Chavez to feed him there.
Yeah, that's a key point. He's not just looking. He wants another officer, another pair of eyes, right away. That suggests he knew this was something unusual, something serious.
So Chavez gets there. What does he find?
Well, according to the reports, Chavez arrives, and Zamora basically leads him over to some brush that's, like, actively burning, smoldering.
Smoldering brush, okay.
Okay.
And other officers confirm that later?
They did, yes. Other responding officers noted the smoldering grass and brush in that same area. So there's immediate, tangible evidence that something happened there involving heat or fire.
Okay, so before we even get to the object itself, there's that. But let's go back to Zamora's perspective. What led him there? He was chasing a car.
He reported pursuing a speeding car south of town. Then he hears this incredibly loud roar and sees a flame in the sky off to the southwest. He estimated it maybe half a mile, maybe a mile away.
And his first thought wasn't UFO, it was
Explosion. He thought a local dynamite shack, one used for construction or mining, had exploded. That's why he broke off the car chase. He thought there'd been a serious accident.
Makes sense. So he goes to investigate this explosion.
And that's when he sees it.
Yeah.
Down in the arroyo, maybe 150, 200 yards away.
Yeah.
This shiny object on the ground. He described it as whitish, but specifically said it wasn't like chrome, sort of duller.
Shaped like an O, right.
Yeah.
And initially, he still thinks it's maybe related to an accident.
Yeah, his first thought was maybe it was an overturned white car. From that distance, trying to make sense of it.
Okay, but then it gets really strange. The figures.
Right. This is where it elevates beyond just an odd object. He said he saw two figures beside it, dressed in what looked like white overalls, just for a moment.
And his description of them.
He said they looked normal in shape, but he couldn't be sure about the size. Could have been small adults or large kids. It was a brief sighting of them.
Wow. Okay, so object, figures, and then what happens?
Then he hears another roar, really loud like the first one, and he sees this flame described as blue, then turning orange shoot out from underneath the object.
Oh, it lifts off.
It lifts off, rises vertically, clears the surrounding brush, and then just takes off. Moved away very, very quickly. Gone.
So, okay, police officer witness, close-range sighting, apparent occupants, physical traces of the burning brush. No wonder this blew up.
Absolutely. Project Blue Book got involved immediately. Civilian UFO groups, the media, everyone wanted a piece of this story. It had all the hallmarks of a major event.
And inevitably, people started trying to explain it away.
Yeah.
What were some of the main conventional theories?
Well, you had a few. The skeptic Stuart Campbell suggested it might have been a mirage. Specifically, a mirage of the star Canopus.
A mirage. How would that explain the roar? Or the burning bushes? Or the figures?
Exactly. That's the problem with the mirage theory. It only addresses the visual aspect, and even then, it doesn't really fit the description of a solid object on the ground that then takes off with flames. It doesn't account for the sound, the heat.
Okay, what else? The military testing angle. White Sands missile range isn't that far away.
That was definitely considered, maybe some kind of experimental craft, maybe related to the lunar landing program, which was ramping up then.
Yeah.
A lunar module test vehicle, perhaps.
Plausible on the surface.
Yeah.
Any confirmation?
No, that's the thing. Investigators checked, but White Sands never confirmed any test flights or activities in that specific area at that specific time that would match Zamora's description.
Right.
So It's speculation.
Then you get the more creative explanations,
Uh,
hoaxes.
Robert Schieffer, another prominent skeptic, floated the idea it was a prank by students from the nearby New Mexico TAC.
Students pulling off something that involved landing gear marks, burning brush, and fooling a police officer at close range.
It seems elaborate. Even the university president at the time, Sterling Colgate, chimed in, though he apparently suggested something simpler, maybe like a candle in a balloon.
A candle in a balloon. That sounds completely different from Zamora's description. The roar, the blue and orange flame, the shape.
It really doesn't fit the details, does it?
Yeah.
Especially the intensity Zamora described. And again, the figures. How does a candle in a balloon explain the figures?
Doesn't seem to. And wasn't there also a theory about tourism?
Ah, yes. Philip Glass suggested it was all a conspiracy cooked up by the town officials, maybe the Chamber of Commerce, to put Socorro on the map and attract tourists.
Wow. That requires believing that Zamora, Sergeant Chavez, the other officers, the initial dispatcher calls,
Right.
were all somehow part of a coordinated plot.
It's a pretty big conspiracy to swallow, yeah. And there's never been a shred of evidence to back that up. It seems highly unlikely given the way the investigation unfolded initially.
So you have all these attempts, mirage, secret test, hoax, conspiracy, and none of them really stick. Which brings us back to Project Blue Book. After all their investigation.
Their official conclusion was unknown.
Unknown.
Unknown. And for Project Blue Book, which often strained to find conventional explanations, that designation is really telling. It means that even the official U.S. Air Force investigation couldn't pin it down as a known aircraft, a natural phenomenon, or anything else they could readily identify.
That lack of a conventional answer is, like you said, probably the biggest reason this case endures. So what happened in Socorro afterwards? Did they lean into the UFO fame?
They did, eventually. A couple of years later, in '66, the local Chamber of Commerce president actually proposed developing a site. They built some stone paths, benches, trying to make it a tourist spot.
Did they build it right on the landing site?
Interestingly, no.
Uh,
Apparently, there were local rumors about lingering radioactivity completely unfounded, as far as anyone knows. But because of that, the little park area they built is about a quarter-mile away from where Zamora said it happened.
huh. And the town still remembers it.
Oh, yeah. Much more recently, in 2012, they commissioned a big mural in Socorro depicting the event. It's part of the town's identity now. And Lonnie Zamora himself, he passed away in 2009, but he stuck by his story his entire life. Never changed the details.
So, summing it all up, you've got the credible witness, the police officer, you have the physical traces, the burn marks, the indentations later analyzed, you have the detailed description of the craft and even figures, and you have the failure of multiple investigations, including the official Air Force One, to find a conventional answer.
Precisely. It ticks a lot of boxes for people looking for strong evidence of something truly unexplained. The combination of the witness's status, the physical correlates, and that final unknown verdict. It just makes it incredibly difficult to dismiss outright.
It really stands as one of the most compelling, well-documented cases out there. Despite all the attempts to debunk it, it just hangs there, unanswered.
It absolutely does. It forces you to confront the possibility of things outside our normal understanding. Why, after all this time and scrutiny, does the Lonnie Zamora incident remain so stubbornly unexplained? What was really in that arroyo?
That's the end of the episode. Until next time. Keep to the shadows. Some legends are best left undiscovered.